Hi, I'm Howard and thanks for watching. Today we're going to be reviewing Chris's ADI Part 3 mock test. So if you haven't already watched that, I'll put the link down in the description to have a look at that, otherwise you just won't know what we're talking about today. So first things first, we're going to look at the result and give a full debrief of that mock test. So the result, unfortunately, that would not be a pass in my opinion. I scored that as 25 out of the 51, so not enough for that pass mark. I've scored a marking sheet here, and what I do, I'll just pop that up on the screen so you can see that properly, and you can refer to it as we go through. So let's just begin by summing up, and I'm going to share with you my thoughts as the video went through. Things I was thinking, I made notes, and yeah, I just want to share that with you in the hope that that would help you in your preparation for your ADI Part 3 and indeed Chris as well. So let's start with the beginning in the car park, setting the lesson goals. That's what I wanted to talk about. So I was a little bit confused. Why were we doing dual carriageways? Why slip roads? The pupil had mentioned that he didn't want to do like country roads corners because of something that had happened in Plumstead. So now I'm thinking, well, what happened last time in Plumstead? It sounded like he wasn't judging his speeds for the bends correctly. Would this not be the perfect opportunity to set that as a goal and go and explore that? It's a known problem. We live in Norfolk, lots of country roads. I just thought this was a missed opportunity, and I wanted to hear more from the pupil as to what happens, and whether that could be set as a goal to help him judge it, because obviously he was not sure how to do that. There had been an incident, something happened last time. So think about that, because often what the pupil wants, dual carriageways, because it would be easier, isn't what the pupil needs. So you have to think about needs and wants, and they're not always the same thing. We talk a lot about being client-centered. Client-centered is different to client-led. We're not being dictated to by pupils to tell us what they should be doing. We're the professionals, we're the experts. We know what they need, and we should be delivering a lesson based on those needs and make it in a client-centered way, but not just letting the pupil decide what we're doing. So that was concerning right from the start. I'm thinking, why are we doing it? Why are we doing these dual carriageways? It was explored a little bit, and there was an issue with judgment getting on. Okay, I'd have liked a little bit more of a deep dive as to why that is. Before the car moved, I just wanted some really clear, smart goals, specific goals that I knew what was going on. I didn't really get that feeling from that start. So once, of course, you've got those goals set, then you can agree very specific levels of instruction and how you're going to help, and then have the right structure for this lesson. I also wanted to talk about the fog lights. Okay, so that was brought up. It was a bit misty. The instructor, good, covered about how to get fog lights on and would give the pupil responsibility. But what is the key piece of information? How does the pupil know when to judge to put fog lights on? Was that covered? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. What a perfect opportunity missed. So when we score this, was the technical information given comprehensive correct? No, it wasn't. It was missing. So we just can't get a 3 in that, right from just on that example. Okay. So let's talk about the drive. So I watched the video through, and I thought there's a lot of faults coming up here. Lots of problems. So I got out a D25 and completed that. So this might be a good idea for all of you who are thinking about faults. Are they faults? And sort of thinking of things from an examiner's point of view. So I've also filled out a DL25, which I will also share with you on the screen so you can see that properly. So let's just take a look look at the DL25 and these faults. So an overwhelming amount of faults for normal driving position. How many times did that pupil leave the carriageway and go over the solid white line? 4? 5? How many times was the pupil not in the centre of their lane? It was just bothering me all the way through. I'm like, literally, how close to the edge is he to that line? Consistently throughout the whole drive. So from a driving instructor point of view, as soon as we've left the carriageway and there's an intervention, that's a serious fault, isn't it? So we needed to be talking about this and sorting it out. And yeah, the lesson was lacking on that. What else have we got here? Sticking with positioning, lane discipline. How many times did the pupil cut the lanes on roundabouts? How many times, back to normal positioning, did the pupil exit a roundabout in the right-hand lane? How many times did he drive up a slip road in the right-hand lane? What lane should we be in? And then I mentioned the lane discipline, cutting lanes. So yeah, lots of opportunity around position there. Speed on approach. So yeah, speed on approach to roundabouts, too fast. Think about the gears as well, because speed, gear and the routine come together. And we should be teaching, I mean, think about how you pass your part 2. Were you taught to go run down your gears, or one hazard, one gear? Brakes to slow, gears to go, selective gear changes, not sequential gear changes. So even though the pupil isn't going sequentially through gears, he's taking unnecessary gears that he just doesn't need. And that just is raising alarm bells for me, because it's not how we drive in a part 2, so we don't teach it like that. The whole point of going through your part 2 and doing that right is you teach it like that. Think essential skills and think what you should be doing, and get your pupils to do the same. Yeah, they're little mini yous, yeah? They do what you do. You get them to do that. Don't think that's just an advanced technique and learners do it a different way. It's just more difficult. Think of the benefits. It needs to be addressed. So a little bit on gears selection in the MSPSL routine. Other little bits and bobs. Oh, well, actually not a little bit of bibs and bobs. Right in the car park at the start, observations at junctions. Did we leave that silver Corsa enough time to come round? Did he have to slow down? I'm sure the car emerged in front of him. That I would mark as a serious fault. Think about at the end in the car park, in the bay park, hard stop. Needed to adjust. Just as the pupil's moving forward, there's a car passing. Was the pupil aware? Was the instructor aware? Was it talked about? So it wasn't. There's just too many faults here not being picked up. Mirrors change of a direction. There was a lane change on the roundabout. The instructor intervened. No mirrors. Awareness and planning fault in there. For the overtake that never materialised, so was that necessary? Could that have been better plans? Ancillary controls, windows misting up. Could that have been covered in the car park? Good that they covered the fog lights and did that. So yeah, so there's a lot of faults in there. I think I've covered them all there that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, so let's go back to my notes. Just make sure I'm still recording. So we take all of those faults and now we've got to think, is the lesson being adapted to meet these needs? In my mind, nowhere nearly enough. Take normal driving position. Even though there's been intervention, there's been no mention of it, no way to judge it, no consequence, nothing. Just almost brushed under the carpet like it's not happened. And yeah, it really needs to be. It really needs to be. So so yeah, so so there were lots of faults. We've talked about that. So okay, so lots of things there. Just take the emerge in the car park, okay, right at the start. Perfect opportunity just to jump onto that and get that sorted out. Because after that junction, to get out of the car park, there was another junction. Just to get that done, come on, let's look, why do we look, the risks. And if we think about the number one reason for why people fail driving tests, year on year on year on year on year, is always observations at junctions. So if you put yourself in an examiner's point of view, they see this all day long, yeah, and they fail people for it. Why do they fail people for it? Because if you think once people pass their test, where do all the accidents happen? Junctions. And it's because of observation at junctions. People going in too fast and not taking due care and attention and observing and pulling out and causing accidents, hitting motorcyclists, killing fathers of three. You know, it's serious stuff. So there we have a pupil in the car park, does this, and to not talk about it, yeah, just think like an examiner, thinking, do you know what? He needs to be jumping on this. He needs to get onto this. And even if it is one of those things where you sort of heart skips a bit of a beat and think, oh, that was a bit. We need to talk about it. You know, don't think, oh, we got away with that. That was lucky. Because the next time he does it, just think it's you driving down the road, or your son or daughter on their moped or whatever. Yeah, think of it like that. So these things really need to be adjusted. So is the lesson safe? At this point, do you feel safe? Do we feel safe in the pupil's hands? So perfect opportunities for that pupil to take something away from the lesson and learn. Because obviously that's what he's there to do. So, to sum up, the examiner, to pass this, he's going to really ask himself 3 questions. And I take this from Louise Walsh and Blaine Walsh, whose work I really like. So, you know, to simplify that, the examiner's going to say, was the lesson appropriate to the pupil's needs? Was it appropriate? It wasn't really, was it? It wasn't addressing his needs. The needs weren't being discussed. The lesson wasn't being adapted to meet those needs. Was it safe? We've discussed that. Wasn't really safe. Speed on approach, the not looking at the junctions, the moving off when the car goes past at the end. We need to be in control of that. So there was lots of safety critical things going on where the instructor was having to intervene. And I felt the instructor was just kind of losing control there. There was so many things and he couldn't get on top of them, and it just started to snowball. And yeah, he had too many things on his plate to try and work on. And when you've got too many things you're trying to cope with, you don't deal with any of them effectively, do you? You just want to try and batten it down and think, like, let's get this sorted here. So, and then the last question, did it work? Well, did the pupil work on his needs? Not really. Did learning take place? Not really. Were the problems resolved? Not really. So I hope that helps you understand why I wouldn't have passed this on a part 3 test. Little things, tips that I want you to talk about, just mention. When you go to your part 3, just make sure the pupil you take is a good reflection on you, that they know the things they should know at this stage in their training. If you take a pupil that's had 20 hours, they should know MSPSL like that. They should know LADA. It's been drummed into him, hasn't it, every single lesson, maybe apart from the first 2. So if you've got someone at 20 hours and they're vague on MSPSL, what is the examiner thinking? He's thinking, you only do that today for me because you don't do it any other time, because your pupil really is just like it's the second time he's heard it. So routines, they should know this stuff. They should know POM, DSSM. It should be drilled into them. They should be good at this stuff by now. when you're taking a pupil for your part 3. Because if they look bad and they're shoddy in their answers, it just makes you look shoddy. So really get on top of that. Windows. Yeah, windows in the car were closed. Now on a part 3, the examiner will have a window on each side open. So make sure you're wearing something that's warm, because it's going to get cold in there. And also, because there's going to be wind and noise, make sure you project your voice well and make sure the pupil can hear you and the examiner can hear you, because it's going to be important. When you're saying stuff, it needs to be heard and not easy when the windows are down. So that would be tips for that. Okay, just to finish off, now we know what we know about this pupil, think about what you would be doing if you were going to take them for your test, your part 3 test, next week. I've had to think about that. This is what I think. So if this were my pupil, the goals I would be setting would be normal driving position. A nice, quick, easy fix that we know he can't do, and get onto that. Lane discipline, so I'd want some multi-lane roundabouts to make sure he can stay in lane and work on his steering. I'd want to work on his speed on approach to roundabouts, so again I would need lots of roundabouts to do that. And I would want to work on that one gear, one hazard, sorry, other way around, one hazard, one gear, the selective gear change. And I'd want to focus on the look, the larder part, both at T-junctions and at his roundabouts, to make sure he's looking effectively and isn't pulling out on people. To finish with, if there was time, I'd consider a forward bay park. But to be honest, I'd probably do that the lesson beforehand, because I wouldn't want to be faffing about in the test centre if time is short and my guy can't drive forwards into a bay. So plan ahead, think what you're going to be doing. And one less thing to do, if your pupil can just drive forwards into a bay under control and not sort of just throw it in and just crunch the brakes and come to a stop. You know, just, it wasn't nice, was it? It needs to be better than that. So yeah, part 3, you don't want to be messing about with forward bay parks really. But like I say, if you had time, this would be something I'd include. But to be honest, I'd get that done before, because I wouldn't want to be messing in the test centre if it's busy. And there might not be time. You only got 45 minutes and you want to keep those wheels moving. So that's what I would be thinking in terms of my goals. And so in terms of the route, as I've sort of mentioned there, I'd be definitely back out on dual carriageways, faster moving roads with lots of roundabouts, multi-lane roundabouts. And where the test centre is in Norwich, we've got the perfect place for that. We've got a new road, the Northern Distributor Road, which we can use, which would just be perfect for what he needs. I probably wouldn't want to focus on the slip roads on and off. I mean, did he need to do that? He seemed all right, apart from driving in the hard shoulder. Yeah, so that's my thoughts. Please like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, like your comments. If you disagree with the comments, they're particularly good to hear, because you know people will have different opinions, heard different things. It's good to discuss, and because if you've got anything you're not quite sure of, if there's a misunderstanding, raise it, because hopefully I can help and clarify, or just take a different point of view on, because we should all be open-minded in this, take on new ideas, and you know, we're all learning at the end of the day. And we're going to wish Chris well with his part 3 test. We're going to be spending a little bit more time with him before he goes out and does that. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one.